Did you know that there was an NBA legend who physically couldn't miss a shot? A player who was so deadly at shooting that he not only held the record for most three-pointers made in the NBA for a decade, but also literally saved the legacy of LeBron James with a single jump shot. Yes, I'm talking about the incredible Ray Allen, a two-time champion and 10-time All-Star that earned himself the reputation of being one of the greatest shooters in NBA history by simply never missing. But how did he even get to this level in the first place? And what made him so unstoppable? Well, to find out, we have to go back to June 2nd, 1989. Walter Ray Allen Jr., who was currently living in South Carolina after moving all over the world due to his father being in the military, is sitting at home watching Michael Jordan desperately try to get past the Detroit Pistons.
As a 14-year-old kid, I was sitting in my bedroom and I seen him come down the lane. He turned around, he jumped in the air, he hit somebody's body, and he threw the ball off the backboard and it went in, and it seemed like he wasn't even looking at the hoop. And I said, I have to be able to do that. That has to be me someday.
Inspired by what he had just seen, the teenage Ray would continue to grow as a player, mimicking his idol's every move. Allen would eventually go on to win a state championship in his senior year, be named as South Carolina's Mr. Basketball, and finally receive a full Division I scholarship to attend the University of Connecticut to play under Jim Calhoun. However, the now collegiate athlete's life would take a dramatic turn after his coach pulled him to the side after a practice.
He calls me over to him and he said, did you make 100% of your shots? And I said, probably about 85. And I looked at him, he looked at me, and I knew what he was saying. He said, if you want to be special, you have to do the special things that the other players aren't willing to do.
Coach Calhoun's words allowed Allen to truly understand the power of hard work, and during his time at UConn, Ray would no longer rely on his God-given gifts, and instead begin to focus on chasing perfection, a mindset shift which allowed the South Carolina basketball star to carry his Connecticut team all the way to the Big East championship game in 1996, Ray's junior season. But no one believed that an up-and-coming school could even get close to beating the projected #1 NBA draft pick Allen Iverson and his Georgetown University team. However, with 38.1 seconds remaining and down by a single point, Ray would get one more chance to put his team ahead. Yet, as the play continued, UConn was being slowed down by the tough Georgetown defense. Therefore, Allen was forced to throw up a prayer.
Allen with Iverson on him, throws one up.
Ray had not only won the Big East championship with this incredible bucket, but had done so by hitting what seemed to be a physically impossible to make shot. Not only had Connecticut won the Big East title, but the insane momentum that his UConn team held led to many predicting that Allen's squad would be going all the way to win a national championship. Yet, on March 22nd, 1996, in their Sweet 16 matchup against Mississippi State, just 4 wins away from being crowned kings of college basketball, Ray's life was about to change forever, as UConn, with only 28 seconds remaining, would find themselves down 3 points, requiring yet another miracle shot from their freshly dubbed Big East Player of the Year. However, no one, not even Allen, felt any pressure because Ray had shot an insane 47% from 3 all season long, and the work he had put in would surely allow him to shine.
Jim, they got to go for 3, don't you think? Well, they're down 3, 26 seconds to go. Penetration, we got Ray Allen sitting over here waiting on it. Here he comes, getting the solid screens. They're only looking for 3. Now they go in with Knight. Back out Allen for the tie.
Allen's devastating miss and Mississippi State's clutch free throws would send the championship favorites back home empty-handed, and Ray had a serious decision to make: play out his final year in college or head to the NBA. Well, on June 26, 1996, UConn fans would get their answer.
With the 5th pick in the 1996 NBA draft, the Minnesota Timberwolves select Ray Allen from the University of Connecticut.
But many, including the broadcasters and Ray himself, were confused. confused.
This is not what they need. They were looking at the point guard center position, and they drafted a great shooting guard. So this looks like it may be a trade in the works, or he just was very happy with Ray Allen.
I couldn't understand what was happening. Why was I being drafted by Minnesota, and they already have a 2-guard, so...
Yet, after a few tense minutes, the NBA's commissioner, David Stern, made what many assumed was going to happen official.
Milwaukee conveys the draft rights to Stephon Marbury to Minnesota in exchange for the draft rights to Ray Allen and a future first-round draft pick.
However, while Allen was happy to be going to a team that actually needed a shooting guard, Bucks fans booed the trade. Angry that they were no longer receiving the incredible ball-handling talents of Stephon Marbury. Not only was the former UConn star made to feel unwelcomed by Milwaukee fans, but Slam magazine would dub the 5th pick as the most likely to fall into obscurity, words that would begin to fuel the now 20-year-old as he entered the NBA. But would he really be able to thrive as a shooter in a league dominated by big men? November 1st, 1996. In what seemed like a rematch of the Big East Championship, Ray Allen was set to face the number 1 pick Allen Iverson and his Philadelphia 76ers in the pair's debut NBA game. The Bucks draftee would begin his career by beautifully sending Iverson off the court into a pull-up jumper, the first domino in what he hoped would be a long professional career. And while Ray would continue to showcase his shooting skills, there was actually another area that Allen was also dominant in: dunking.
Sometimes I like to hang up in the air for a little while.
The NBA rookie, who was not only gifted with a feathery soft shooting touch, could also blow by his defenders with ease and find himself at the rim for vicious dunks. But do you know what's even crazier than doing this against the world's best athletes? Dunking on your own father, which is exactly what Ray Allen had done as a teenager in a pickup game. Due to his aerial acrobatics, the Bucks rookie was invited to compete in the 1997 dunk contest. However, Ray would ultimately be eliminated in just the first round. Yet, being an athletic beast was only a small part of Allen's game, as it was his other skill which truly made him who he was.
You can't just play me one way. You have to respect my jumper.
Ray would round out his rookie season, averaging 13.4 points on an impressive 40% from the much further NBA 3-point line. And while many would be upset to be playing on a 33-win Milwaukee team, Allen wasn't. But why? Well, the no-pressure environment was a perfect place for the former Big East Player of the Year to work hard on his skills. Something that Ray thought he was doing until a certain someone would tell him otherwise. Chris Ford, the Bucks head coach, and funnily enough, the first player to ever make a 3 in NBA history, would ask his shooting guard a simple question: "What's your routine?" Confused, Allen came to realize he didn't actually have any structure to his training, and realizing this mistake, Ray would begin to fix it during his second season.
It started with Michael Curry and Elliot Perry. So we started, when those guys came to Milwaukee, we had like our little crew where we'd come out in the court, we would shoot our shots, and then we had a rebounder, we had a passer.
While Milwaukee still struggled in their 1997-1998 campaign, only winning 36 games, it was clear the Bucks were heading in the right direction. And while Allen thought no one outside of Wisconsin was watching his terrible Bucks team, a certain someone was. Spike Lee, a movie director, would recruit the second-year player to act in his new film, He Got Game. Ray would portray Jesus Shuttlesworth, a high school basketball standout whose father, played by legendary actor Denzel Washington, is trying to convince him to commit to the governor's alma mater in exchange for a reduced sentence. Allen's role in what many believe to be the best basketball movie ever created would earn him a new nickname, Jesus. But this wasn't the only crazy thing that occurred between the 1997-98 and 1998-99 NBA season, as the man who guided Allen to develop a routine was fired, and the coach who had not only held the highest winning percentage in Seattle Supersonics history, who as well had led the Sonics to the 1996 NBA Finals, Coach George Karl, was brought in. Coach Karl, in spite of the lockout-shortened season, would guide the Bucks to finally enter the postseason as the 7th seed in the Eastern Conference, and it was in Game 2 versus the Indiana Pacers in the first round where Ray Allen would showcase his true ability, because with 45.9 seconds remaining and down 7 points, Milwaukee was in a seemingly impossible hole. Yet, George would draw up a perfect play, freeing up his shooting guard to to bring the Bucks 3 points closer. And they weren't done. After Indiana made both of their free throws, Allen would come down aggressively and attack the hoop, resulting in the Pacers fouling him and sending Ray to the line. Milwaukee's young star would step up and knock down both vital foul shots before his Bucks teammates incredibly forced the Pacers into a sloppy turnover, which was then converted into an and one by Bucks guard Haywood Workman. After Workman made his clutch free throw, Milwaukee would again intentionally foul Indiana, giving the Bucks the ball back with 17 seconds remaining and down by 3 points. Plenty of time for a miracle to happen.
Looking for the three. Here's Allen firing for the tie with 5 and 10 seconds to go. The game is tied at 101.
While Pacers star Reggie Miller would fortunately miss his game-winning attempt in the following possession, an error which forced the game into overtime, Indiana would make some smart changes in the extra period. Their head coach, former 3-time NBA championship winning Larry Bird, would opt to double-team Ray Allen throughout overtime, turning him from a scorer into a passer. A simple change which would have huge consequences, because when it came time for the Bucks star to take over, he would ultimately fail, resulting in Indiana, not Milwaukee, leaving Game 2 with the W. While the Bucks would eventually lose the series in their following game, yes, first round series used to be best of 5s, they were clearly moving in the right direction. Their mid-season acquisition of 2-time NBA championship winning point guard Sam Cassell, the development of their 1994 number 1 pick Glenn Robinson, and their 1996 draft day trade for Ray Allen were beginning to form a strong Big Three, a group which led the Bucks to be just a single bucket away from finally moving past the first round in the 1999-2000 playoffs. But how did they even get here? Well, Ray, who had been named as an All-Star for the first time in his short NBA career, was averaging 23 points while shooting just above 42% from 3. Allen's ability to seemingly be physically unable to miss shots had guided his Bucks squad to win 42 games and finally pick up victories against the Pacers in both games 2 and 4. All he needed to do now was hit just one more shot and a series victory would be theirs.
Providing the room. Del Negro inbounded. Here's Allen. Can he get it off? He does. It is all over.
Allen was devastated. However, he had no time to sulk. No, because over the offseason, Ray would head to Sydney, Australia, where the Bucks star would win a gold medal representing his country at the Olympics. And it was this time away which allowed the now gold medalist to further lock into his routine. Ray would come up with weird and wacky drills, such as starting on his knees, facing away from the hoop before turning, catching, and shooting, or backpeeling from the paint. Drills that would only further challenge the rising star's ability to simply never miss, a skill that would be on full display during the 2001 All-Star Weekend, because Allen would not only win the 3-point contest, but do so while making 10 straight shots, solidifying him as the best shooter in the league. But this wouldn't be his only insane shooting performance that season, as thanks to the incredible amount of work Ray had put in, he was beginning to develop another unique ability, which was on full display on April 12th, 2001.
But when you start that game and you hit your first couple of shots, you get to the free throw line, you get fouled, and then all of a sudden the basket, it's almost like the feeling is almost as though you take 20,000 people and you just erase them out of the building. The zone is something that it's an indescribable feeling that few people have felt, and I feel honored to say I felt that many nights.
Allen's ability to become so focused that he drowns out everything other than himself and the hoop would allow the now 2-time All-Star to score 8 threes and finish the night with a whopping 43 points in the Bucks' 50th regular season win. But the crazy part is, his shooting dominance only continued. On the 1st of May, against their first-round playoff opponent, the Orlando Magic, Ray Allen and his squad would finally win their first ever postseason series, defeating Orlando 3-1. Yet, the Bucks weren't done, because after nearly letting their dominant Games 1 and 2 performance slip away by losing Games 3, 4, and 5 against the Charlotte Hornets, Allen would lead the charge in their final 2 matchups to swat away those pesky Hornets. Sorry, I had to do a bad bug joke. I know it was terrible. I'm gonna do it again. Milwaukee was set for their first Eastern Conference Finals appearance since the 1985-1986 season. However, this is where things started to take a dark turn in Ray's career. May 30th, 2001. Milwaukee is down 3 points with 31.7 seconds remaining in the must-win Game 5, a match that was a huge turning point in the series, since both teams had 2 victories each, meaning the winner would place themselves just a single W away from the NBA Finals. As this vital possession played out, the Bucks would find forward Jason Caffey down low for a beautiful fadeaway, and thanks to 76er Aaron McKie missing both of his free throws badly, this would be Milwaukee's chance to take the crucial 3-2 lead.
Tim Thomas inbounding the ball. So Milwaukee with the ball should be trying to score quickly, give themselves 2 chances to get the lead or to tie the ball game up. They're taking a lot of time looking for the big dog.
Robinson knocked away by McKie. Robinson puts it up. Oh, go! Tip, no go! And the Sixers win to take a 3-2 lead.
Game 6. Ray Allen knows that he has to come out onto the Bradley Center court and put on an incredible performance to save the franchise who had traded for him all those years ago. So, slowly but surely, Ray would begin to pour in bucket after bucket. The hours and hours he spent preparing not only before games, but after practices, on off days, and when no one else was in the gym, would all lead up to the performance of his lifetime. Not only did Ray Allen set a Bucks record, which still stands to this day, scoring 9 threes in a playoff game, but Allen would go on a 19-0 run by himself. The Milwaukee All-Stars' 43-point performance in this must-win matchup would place his Bucks just a single victory away from the NBA Finals. However, shortly before Game 7, issues began to arise. Scott Williams, Milwaukee's big man, was suspended for the final game by the NBA. Their reasoning? Williams' flagrant foul that he committed on Iverson in Game 6. An action which didn't result in Williams getting ejected during Game 6, but got him suspended for Game 7? It wasn't just Ray Allen who was starting to believe something fishy was going on, it was also his head coach and the rest of the Bucks franchise. Because without the heart and soul of their defense, it was Philadelphia moving on to face the Los Angeles Lakers in the NBA Finals, a team that, oddly enough, the Bucks had beaten every single time they had faced them during the regular season. Yet, this was only the beginning of the craziness, as Ray, Coach Karl, and the Bucks would make claims that the league had rigged the series in favor of the 76ers. The group believed this for 3 reasons. Firstly, forward Glenn Robinson didn't get a single foul call until Game 5. Secondly, the foul count was heavily biased towards Philadelphia, 186 calls for them and only 120 for Milwaukee. And finally, they believe the refs missed some huge calls at the end of Game 4, comments that would result in everyone involved being fined, with Allen being issued a $10,000 citation for his beliefs. But regardless if they had a point or not, Milwaukee was clearly a team on the rise. All they had to do that season was just win one more game and it would have been them in the NBA Finals. Therefore, all they needed to do was keep the same roster, right, guys? Well, forward Anthony Mason, a 2001 All-Star with the Miami Heat and former New York Knicks bruiser, was signed during the offseason. While this initially seemed like the right idea, Mason would destroy the Bucks' chemistry. Anthony would allegedly ignore Coach Karl in timeouts, argue with his teammates, and his give me the ball in the post playstyle put the brakes on Milwaukee's fast-paced offense. Even Ray's career night of 47 points on 10 made threes against the Charlotte Hornets wasn't enough to will Wisconsin's NBA franchise into the postseason. And this was only the start of the end. Because before a regular season game in the 2002-2003 season against the Seattle Supersonics, Ray Allen was stretching when members of the media rushed over to the All-Star. Confused, Allen questioned their sudden approach, only to find out that he had been traded to the team he was about to square off against. But why? Simply put, George Karl desperately wanted his former superstar Gary Payton back and decided to give up Allen. Yet, just like his initial reception in Milwaukee, Sonics fans weren't happy about the trade either. Their management had just sent the team's greatest player away for some random shooting guard from the Bucks. However, Ray Allen and his insane ability to make shot after shot would slowly begin to win over Sonics fans. The former Milwaukee star would arrive to a Seattle team which held a poor 22-win and 30-loss record and turn them into a 40-win, 42-loss team by the end of the season. Allen's incredible inability to miss had breathed new life into Washington State's NBA franchise, and their future seemed incredibly bright. However, in the 2003-2004 season, Allen, for the first time in his career, would suffer an ankle injury that forced him to miss a large chunk of their games to start the season. While Ray would still appear in 56 matches, averaging 23 points on 40% shooting from 3, his absence ultimately resulted in the Sonics only winning 37 games that season. Yet, an incredible turnaround was about to occur. December 8th, 2004, Seattle is in Texas, facing off against who many believe will win the 2004-2005 NBA title, the San Antonio Spurs. Yet, Ray Allen and his Sonics had different plans. Their four-time All-Star shooting guard would drop in 29 vital points as his Seattle squad left San Antonio with a huge victory. But things were only about to get crazier, because thanks to 3 massive 30-plus point games, which included 38 versus the Utah Jazz, 37 on the 76ers, and 34 against the Memphis Grizzlies, all done on an incredible 44% shooting from 3, Seattle had started their championship campaign with a 15-3 record. Despite sliding in their final 14 games, only winning 4 whilst losing 10, the Sonics' early success would propel them into a 52-win, 30-loss season, a win-loss record good enough to earn the rising Seattle side the 3rd seed in the Western Conference. And their dominance didn't end here, because during their first-round matchup against the Sacramento Kings, Allen would begin to truly showcase exactly what he was capable of. In Game 4, the former UConn star would score a shocking 45 points, and thanks to their shooting guard's 32.4 point and 45% from 3 averages, it was Ray's team moving on to face the San Antonio Spurs in the second round. But was Seattle really a championship-winning team? And was Allen actually capable, even with his inability to seemingly never miss, of carrying his squad past the title favorites? Game 6, Spurs superstar big man Tim Duncan has just made up for his Game 3 failure by laying the ball in gracefully, placing his Spurs just 0.5 seconds away from moving on to the Western Conference Finals. Ray Allen knows this is his moment.
Comes free, puts up a three. Oh, it just misses.
Allen was crushed. That was his chance to truly shock the world, and ultimately, he came up short. Ray would vow then and there to eventually get his revenge against the San Antonio Spurs. However, his suffering had only begun, because not only did their head coach, Nate McMillan, leave for a new role with the Portland Trail Blazers, but both their center Jerome James and point guard Antonio Daniels would sign elsewhere. To make matters worse, their brand new head coach, Bob Weiss, would get fired after just 30 games, and his replacement, Bob Hill, wouldn't help the team find any success either. Not even Ray's record-setting 2005-2006 season, where he made 269 threes, a new NBA best, averaged 21 points, shot 41% from 3, was named to his 6th All-Star squad, and scored 2 game winners in the same night against the Phoenix Suns, could save Washington State's NBA franchise. Seattle would end the 05-06 season with a horrible 35-win and 47-loss record, yet things would only continue to trend downward in their 2006-2007 campaign, because once again, Allen was their only shining light. Their now 7-time All-Star would score a brand new career high against the Utah Jazz. Ray would drop an insane 54 points on 8 threes and continue to increase his averages to 26.4 points per game. However, much like his second season in Seattle, Ray would struggle to stay healthy, only playing 55 games, which, coupled with their lackluster roster and coaching, would see the Sonics fail to even come close to the postseason. But there was one thing that everyone was looking forward to. Team owner Howard Schultz had decided to sell his Seattle franchise to a group that was planning to relocate the team to Oklahoma City, and newly appointed general manager Sam Presti had some great ideas on how to turn the floundering franchise around. Yet, this was only the start of the positive news for Seattle. In fact, there were still two more big positives to come. Firstly, thanks to their terrible record of 31 wins and 51 losses, combined with some incredible luck, it would be Seattle selecting second in the 2007 draft. Secondly, the Supersonics would choose Texas Longhorn star Kevin Durant, a 6'9" small forward who could score from anywhere on the floor with that second pick. A seemingly perfect pairing with their current 7-time All-Star. But Sam Presti had a different plan, because the Boston Celtics, who, according to the draft odds, should have won the second pick Seattle had gotten, were forced to shift gears. Their own new general manager, Danny Ainge, would flip their 5th selection and some young talent to Sam Presti in exchange for their shooting guard. Ray Allen was set to become a Celtic.
Ray, tell us what you thought when you heard about the trade.
The tradition here is so great, and it's one of the best in sports. And I just look forward to that.
But why did Boston make this move? Well, megastar power forward Kevin Garnett was initially hesitant to sign a contract extension with Boston, and if Danny Ainge wanted KG to stay long term, he would need to prove that Boston was serious about winning a title. Therefore, acquiring Allen proved to KG that Boston meant business. The combination of their homegrown 5-time All-Star Paul Pierce, the shooting dominance of Ray Allen, and now that he had decided to sign, the interior dominance of Kevin Garnett meant that the Celtics had formed a brand new Big Three.
The Three Amigos!
Yet, there was still doubt that 3 incredible individuals could come together and share just a single basketball. But it didn't take Ray long to show just how good his new group could be, as Allen was always prepared.
My confidence in my game comes in just my preparation. Every day in practice, shooting arounds before the games, the meetings before the games, is being prepared, and knowing who I'm facing, knowing what they do well, and then know what I do well.
A work ethic which would help him achieve 3 incredible things. Firstly, in just his 2nd game wearing a Boston uniform, not only would the ex-Sonic drop 33, but his 31st, 32nd, and 33rd points came from the game-winning bucket.
Looking, gets it in. Ray Allen for the game, knocks it down!
Secondly, against the Charlotte Bobcats, Allen would hit what he dubbed his favorite play of his Celtics career.
Ray Allen for the game, got it! The buzzer!
And finally, it would be Boston shooting guard who put the nail in the coffin for the Dallas Mavericks.
In this 4th quarter, 13-second differential. Allen for 3. Yes.
Helping his Celtic squad to sweep the Texas trio. As the regular season came to a close, Boston just kept winning, earning them the 1st seed in the Eastern Conference. Their first step in their championship journey, the Atlanta Hawks. Everything seemed to be going as planned. Allen was, as usual, refusing to miss, shooting 50% from 3 during their games 1 and 2 victories at home. However, once the Celtics arrived in Atlanta, things started to go downhill, as in games 3, 4, and 6, which were all played on the Hawks' home court, would result in tragic losses for Boston. And while the Celtics would eventually win the series in the must-win Game 7 at TD Garden, Allen was starting to struggle, because in Game 1 of their 2nd round series against the Cleveland Cavaliers, the ex-UConn star would literally score 0 points. While he would eventually score as Boston followed the same win every home game and lose every away game script versus Cleveland, Ray was shooting a horrific 16% from the field and only averaging 9.6 points. Boston, with one of their big 3 failing, was never going to make it out of the Eastern Conference Finals. However, while many were worried, Ray never was. But why? Well, it's all due to one simple reason, which his former head coach outlines beautifully.
We go into Washington and lose we really got beat, and he didn't shoot well. 4 for 18 or something like that. So the next day we're in New York at practice, and Ray's standing like this, and he's listening, and he said, "I didn't shoot it bad last night." And I said, "Well, the results weren't very good. You were 4 for 18. He said, "I know, the ball didn't go in the basket, but I shot it good."
Yet, while Ray understood he would eventually figure it out, would he actually be able to do it in time? May 28th, 2008, Allen, knowing that all he ever needed to do was focus on his routine and respecting the amount of work required for success, would begin to refine his touch. The Boston guard would slowly begin to heat up, scoring vital 3 after vital 3, ending his night with not only 29 points, but having made 83% of his 3-point attempts, a hot hand which didn't cool off. As in Game 6 at Detroit, Allen continued to shoot at a high level, scoring 50% from the field as the Celtics would finally break free of their 7-game series curse. Boston was set to make their first NBA Finals since the 1987 season, but in Game 4, it looked like their opponent, the Kobe Bryant Pau Gasol-led Los Angeles Lakers, would be tying the series at 2 games apiece. And with Game 5 being played in LA, Boston knew they had to come back from the 24-point hole that they were in. Therefore, slowly but surely, the other signings Danny Ainge had made of Eddie House and 2006 champion James Posey would spearhead a Celtics comeback. Yet it was Ray Allen who would turn back the clock to his Milwaukee days and blow right by Lakers guard Sasha Vujacic for the dagger lefty layup to steal the Game 4 W. While it would be Bryant's defense and scoring which led the Lakers to steal Game 5 at home, Ray Allen's response in Game 6 of 26 points and 77% shooting from 3 would see Boston achieve their ultimate dream. Allen was finally an NBA champion.
It's impossible! Someplace, somewhere, red is lighting up a cigar, and congratulations, the 2008 NBA champion, for the 17th time a record, your Boston Celtics.
However, Ray and his team's success didn't end in the 2008 season, as the Celtics would come out and win a franchise record 19 games in a row during the 2008-2009 season. Ray Allen would continue to simply not miss, shooting a whopping 95% from the free throw line, which I have to add wasn't actually the best in the NBA that year. That award would belong to Jose Calderon, who played for the Raptors. He shot 98%. He only missed 3 free throws all year. Maybe I should have made this video about him. Anyway, sorry, I thought that was interesting. But towards the end of the regular season, in a game versus the Utah Jazz, it would be their heart and soul, Kevin Garnett, that suffered a knee injury which would completely rule him out of the rest of the season. Without KG, it didn't even matter what Ray Allen did. His 3 insane either game-winning or game-tying shots in games 2, 4, and 6 against the Chicago Bulls in their first-round matchup meant nothing. Because against the Orlando Magic in their following postseason series, it would be the Magic, thanks to their own superstar big man, Dwight Howard, who would defeat the Celtics in 7 games. Yet, KG's injury wouldn't be the only one which prevented Boston from winning a second championship, because once again in the 2009-2010 season, the Celtics had made it all the way back to the finals for a rematch against Kobe Bryant and his Los Angeles Lakers. However, in Game 6, despite holding a 3-2 series lead, their center, Kendrick Perkins, who had been vital to Boston pulling down rebound after rebound, would also suffer a season-ending knee injury. Without their big man, Kobe and his LA team would slowly claw their way back into the series and ultimately get their revenge. But these tragic losses were only the beginning of the team's issues. Because after destroying LeBron James and his Cavaliers in the 2010 playoffs, James, a free agent, would choose to form a brand new Big Three in Miami, a brand new super team which would prevent Boston from even thinking about getting back into the NBA Finals in both the 2011 and 2012 playoffs. The only positive for Ray during this 2-year period was the fact that thanks to his insane shooting skills, he would pass Reggie Miller in all-time threes made. And as the 2012 season came to a close, Allen had a huge decision to make: stay in Boston on a 2-year, $12 million contract, or sign with a team who had just demolished them in back-to-back seasons for half of that money. By the way, what would you do in this situation? Would you stay loyal or sign with a team almost guaranteed to win a championship? For me, I'm chasing that ring, which is exactly what Ray Allen did. However, was this a smart decision? Yes, of course it was. Why did I write this? A chance to play with LeBron? Anyway, Ray would immediately get revenge against his former team by scoring 19 points off the bench in their opening night matchup. But he wasn't done. A few weeks later against the Denver Nuggets, it would be their new sniper who hit, as usual, the game-winning three.
Allen for three. Got it! Ray Allen plus a foul!
And Allen would be a part of destroying two huge records. Firstly, the Miami Heat would round out their 2012-13 regular season, having won the second most games in a row in history, destroying their opponents in 27 consecutive matches, just short of the 33-game record set by the 1972 championship-winning Los Angeles Lakers. Secondly, in their easy first-round sweep of the Milwaukee Bucks, Allen would set an NBA record for the most threes made during the postseason. As the 2012-2013 playoffs progressed, Miami would win hard-fought battles against both the Chicago Bulls and Indiana Pacers, meaning the Heat was set to defend their 2012 championship against a familiar opponent for Ray Allen, the San Antonio Spurs. However, as the series went on, the Spurs' methodical approach, combined with the simple fact that their core of Manu Ginobili, Tony Parker, and Tim Duncan had been playing together for so long, would allow San Antonio to be up 10 points heading into the fourth quarter of Game 6, a fact that sent shivers down Miami fans' spines. San Antonio, given that they had a 3-2 lead, were just 12 minutes away from snatching the 2013 NBA title away from Ray Allen and his Heat teammates. But this is where things started to get crazy, because their other sharpshooter, Mike Miller, would hit one of the most unique threes in NBA history, and a new alter ego, headbandless, how do you say that? Anyway, headbandless LeBron was born as Miami desperately tried to fight their way back. However, buckets from San Antonio's French point guard and their Argentinian shooting guard would ultimately place the Spurs 5 points ahead with just 58 seconds remaining, a lead which resulted in yellow rope being placed around the court, ensuring fans wouldn't be able to storm the floor during San Antonio's seemingly guaranteed trophy presentation. Not only did the NBA believe Miami's season was over, but so did their fans, who began leaving the arena en masse. LeBron James, who had promised Miami supporters,
"Not 2, not 3, not 4, not 5, not 6, not 7.
Seemed like he would be going 1 from 3 on championship attempts, further tarnishing his legacy in the eyes of his critics. Miami needed a literal miracle. Therefore, LeBron would come down on the following possession and hit a much-needed 3. His Heat were now down just 2. Kawhi Leonard, the Spurs' rising star small forward, was fouled, and thankfully for Miami, Leonard only made 1 of his 2 free throws. With 19 seconds left, the Heat had one final chance to send it to overtime.
He goes for the 3 right away. Just attack the basket. James catches, puts up a 3. Won't go. Rebound Bosh. Back out to Allen. His 3-pointer. Bang! Tie game with 5 seconds remaining.
Ray Allen, thanks to a Tony Parker miss and scoring 4 points during the extra period, had essentially saved the legacy of LeBron James with his insane 3, a shot which he had been preparing for his whole career. But Miami hadn't won anything yet. The series was now tied, meaning Ray and his Heat would still have to win another game. Yet, deflated from Allen's miracle bucket, San Antonio would ultimately get dominated in Game 7, resulting in Ray Allen winning his 2nd NBA title and solidifying him as someone who simply doesn't miss. However, do you want to know what the most shocking part about all this is? The next morning, Allen didn't wake up hungover, on a yacht somewhere, or still awake celebrating. No, he just woke up at his usual time and went to, get this, the dentist? The dentist. Really? You win a title and your next thought is, I need to go to the dentist? Ray Allen was different. While the Spurs would eventually get their revenge in the following season, the signing of Ray Allen proved to be a genius move by the Miami Heat organization. His incredible preparation, work ethic, and ability to simply not miss shots literally saved their franchise from an embarrassing 1 out of 4 championship run during their own Big 3 era. Also, do you think Ray Allen is the greatest pure shooter of all time? Or does that title belong to someone like Steph Curry? Or perhaps even a player like Kyle Korver? Let me know what you think below. I'd love to read them. However, while being physically incapable of missing is impressive, did you know there's also another NBA player who simply refuses to dribble? To find out more about how Klay Thompson won 4 NBA championships all while barely dribbling, click the video on your screen now.